What's up everybody, my name is Big Cam and welcome back to another movie review, and today we're talking about 1999's The Mummy, and this film is from when I was born, and it is 26 years old. I am 26 years old, and this film is from SOMMERS, and he did other things like Van Helsing. I really like that movie as well, with Hugh Jackman back in the day. He also did the G.I. Joe movie, Rise of Cobra, with Channing Tatum. I really liked that growing up as a kid as well. It doesn't say he's directed too many other things, but out of the stuff that he's done, those are the ones I've seen. But this movie, The Mummy, was the type of film that I've seen on TV 400 times. But I have never purposefully sat down and watched it myself. Like, The Mummy for me is a movie that, like, you know, everybody knows what The Mummy is. And, you know, it's a very famous movie, Brendan Fraser, right? Like, it's a very good movie as well, and I had seen bits and pieces of it, but it was one of those films that was always constantly on, you know, TBS, TNT, USA, FX, you know, Spike TV, whatever. Always on cable when I was growing up, and you would always catch this movie, but with the commercials, you might not stick around the entire film. So finally, 26 years later, I have finally sat down and purposefully watched this movie. But I think there's this category of movies where you have, of course, seen them, and everybody's seen them. They're so famous that they're always on TV and that type of thing. Or it was like so popular that your parents loved it, and then your dad or mom forced you to see it when you were too young, and then you didn't like it because of that, you know? Like, this movie's not necessarily a horror movie, but it's got some spookier vibes to it, you know, and this is definitely what I would consider a spooky season movie. So for me, this is the start of spooky season 2025 as we head into some horror, Halloween-esque. Spooky season to me is anything that, you know, Halloween costume related, like a witch, a wizard, a ghoul, a goblin, a werewolf, you know, and that type of stuff, a vampire, a mummy, you know, things that people wear as Halloween costumes are definitely spooky and or considered horror for me. And, you know, I'm not necessarily into creepy horror films, but, you know, if you have more classics like The Mummy like this, that are like horror-esque, you know, not necessarily scary, because this, I wouldn't necessarily say you couldn't show this to like a kid or anything like that. It's got scarier vibes, but not like scary, you know. There's a couple of jump scares in this that you're like, ah, Jesus Christ, you know, I hate those. But even they acknowledge it in the movie, you know, something jumps out at them and it's like, oh, I hate when that happens. But the cast in this is stellar, you know, and I said in my movie review on LETTERBOXD, if you want to check out my Letterboxd, link below in the description, Brendan Fraser is a freaking movie star. I love him so much, and it says he's been in 70 films, but I think he should be in so many more things, especially growing up. Like, he was such a good leading man, and it seemed for years his career, you know, like, it had been paused, or, you know, he hadn't been getting any work. And then, you know, with The Whale in 2022, and then, you know, after that, he looked like he got a role in Killers of the Flower Moon with Martin Scorsese in 2023, you know, so he's done some stuff more recently, but for many years he hadn't, and, you know, maybe he just couldn't get work or couldn't find work. But in this Brendan Fraser from 2000 or 99 absolutely crushed it, was very handsome, was a hell of a leading man. And, like, I've been doing a lot of figure unboxings lately, so looking at his character, Rick O'Connell, in this movie, he had, you know, 2 pistols on, like, leather shoulder straps, he had a shotgun that he was always carrying around, he, you know, had this, like, dress shirt and pants, but, like, he almost had, like, this Indiana Jones cowboy vibe, but instead of cowboys, they were in the desert, so they were on camels, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I love the vibe to, like, a movie like this, where it's a little bit of a horror movie, but it's got, you know, tension, but it's got a love story in there. Rachel Weisz and him. Oh, Rachel Weisz. I love her as Black Widow's mom in the Black Widow movies, but at the same time, you know, I didn't realize she was in this movie, but, like, Melina in the Black Widow movie as, like, her mom or whatever she is to her fake mom. She's great in that, but that was much, much, much later. You know, seeing young Rachel Weisz as Evelyn in this movie, oh, she's so beautiful in this, and she really had leading woman charm, you know what I mean? Like, she was so charming and beautiful in this, and I was just like really here for the love story between Brendan Fraser and her character. But then, like, her brother in the film, John Hannah plays, is so good. And John Hannah, you know, I recognized him as an older man, and he's at the very, very beginning of the start of season 1 of The Last of Us, and he's like doing this interview, and he's like, what do? You embalm everything, you know, and he's explaining like the virus and stuff, and it's like how you get it, set the tone into the show. And I thought he was just like a scientist, but I didn't even think about it that it was an actor playing it in the show. But John Hannah, the only other film that I've seen him in would be The Mummy, and he is great in The Mummy. He's like the humor in the movie that you need for like our good guys. And then there's also a character named Benny, played by Kevin J. O'Connor, and Benny is very funny in this movie as well. A little bit of a dunce, but very funny still. And then, you know, the actual mummy himself, Arnold Vosloo, he's pretty good, pretty intimidating, you know, like you see him and you're like, whoa, you know, finally once you see the form of the mummy, you're like, oh shit, don't mess with that guy. But when he's just like the decaying version of the mummy, for a movie that's 26 years old, the VFX in this stand up pretty goddamn well. You know, I was thoroughly impressed. I thought there was going to be a lot worse VFX than I was expecting, you know, going into this. I was like, I probably should have watched this in the 2000s. The VFX would have held up a lot better. But I was thoroughly surprised. 2 decades later, it still looks freaking great. And I don't know, the last time I was at Disney World or Universal, I was like 13. So, you know, it's been over a decade since I've been there. But I don't know, is the Mummy ride still at Universal or Disney, whichever one it's at? But I really liked the ride, I really liked Brendan Fraser, and I loved the movie. Overall, I gave this movie a 4 out of 5 stars. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down in the comment section below. Or if you want to talk more Mummy or spooky season movies with me, drop your recommendations down in the comment section below. Or you can send them to me on my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. But if you made it this far and you would like to support the channel, the best way to do that is sharing this video with a friend, liking this video, commenting in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting that bell so you don't miss future movie reviews and you get the notifications when those come out. Once again, my name is Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for stopping on by, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!